There's been more requests from Rand Water for people on the highveld to use water sparingly. At the same time, it's denied its water systems could run dry, but several reservoirs run by Joburg Water may be running into difficult times because there's less water to fill them up. Meanwhile, the Vaal Dam is around 88% full. The Sterkfontein Dam, which supplies the Vaal Dam, is around 99% full. In the last hour or so, there's been a statement from Rand Water of problems at the Zekerbosch pumping station because power lines to that station have been damaged by the storm last night. Dr. Ferrial Adam is the head of WaterCAN, which is part of Outer. Dr. Adam, good afternoon to you. So many different things going on here with water. We'll come to the issues around dams in a moment, but firstly, I suppose it's obvious you can't pump water if you don't have power lines to pumping stations, can you? And so people who depend on the Zekerbosch plants are likely to suffer.
Absolutely, and we're seeing more and more of that happening in terms of the linkage between energy and pumping stations around South Africa.
I mean, we're going to start to see more and more problems, and it's not an easy thing to have backup power either. These pumps are not just a normal creepy crawly pump, they have a huge amount of electricity.
Well, the problem is that, load shedding didn't start yesterday. It's been 10 years in the making, or even more, that people have been talking about backup pumps. And still, until now, we don't have sufficient backup energy for a lot of basic supply. So someone has to answer for that, because it can't be that we can say, oh, no, it's too big and it's too expensive to have now. Why was this not done sooner? We knew that load shedding wasn't going to go away anytime soon.
There are many players in all of this. So, as I understand it, the National Water Affairs Department places a limit on how much water Rand Water can take from, say, the Vaal Dam every day. Is that why we're having water problems? They place that limit on Rand Water, and they place it on Rand Water for a good reason.
Well, I think that the finger-pointing between Rand Water and Joburg Water has left a lot of residents very confused. Because on the one hand, yes, you're right, they have a license to extract a certain amount of water and then supply that to your Joburg Water and other such structures. But Joburg Water is saying, no, it's Rand Water that's restricting flow, and Rand Water is, firstly, they were saying it wasn't them, it's because of an increase in people using too much and consumers using too much of water. And I think that we actually need better answers. We're all in the dark on this and we're confused. Yes, people do use more water during summer, but this is not the first time we're having summer. So why didn't this happen 2 years ago? The thing is, the reality is that our infrastructure has not been maintained for years and years and years. And so what we're actually seeing now is the destruction of our infrastructure because of a lack of maintenance.
It's so interesting to me to take last year's press releases and compare them with this year's press releases, because almost exactly the same thing happened last year. So it makes me wonder if almost anything's changed between Rand Water and Joburg Water in a year.
Absolutely. I can guarantee you that not much has changed there. But the thing is that we have to realize is that this is happening. It's happening annually. So how is it that you can't prepare better for it when you are affecting thousands of people on the ground? And what we're seeing in places like Ekurhuleni is going to happen more and more across the country.
The other issue is that we lose so much water, and I think sort of best practice is that a big water system might lose around 15%. I've seen some estimates that we lose up to 40% in Gauteng. And that's a huge amount of water. It's called unbilled water, I think. I mean, we're losing a lot of water just to leaks that should be fixed.
Absolutely. I mean, non-revenue water is a thing, and there's something that's a global average, which is about 30%, is acceptable. But given our water shortages in our region, given climate change, given the state of our water resources, can we even afford to lose so much? So you're right. City of Joburg loses about 30% of non-revenue water. Mfuleni is sitting at 70% of losses.
I mean, you can't run a municipality when you're losing 70% of the water, but the amount of money to fix all of that would be huge. I mean, if you're losing 70% of your water, you might just want to start your whole system again.
I agree. I mean, I think that, but it's not only the money. I think that we need to start holding people accountable. And for those people who have been responsible, they must be fired. They must lose their job. Why must they still get big salaries when things are falling apart? And it's no longer acceptable for that to happen.
Do you have any hope?
We as civil society and communities, we need to demand that people need to lose their jobs when so much of our water is being lost. We can't afford it anymore.
Dr. Adam, do you have any hope that that is what's going to happen here? I mean, I worry that in a year's time we're going to have exactly the same set of press releases.
I think you're right. We will be having the same kind of press releases in a year. But what we need to do is build the voices on the ground. And I think that's happening, Stephen. I think that civil society, communities around are testing water more often, and they're using those tests to hold people accountable. And we need to, when we go to the polls next year, and when we go to the polls for local government, we must remember our water shortages and vote accordingly. So this is going to become a big political pie, and we need to deal with it. But I think in the short term, yes, next year we're going to have the same press releases. We should just photocopy it and have it prepared. But we need to, as civil society, as WaterCAN, and as OUTA, we have had enough. We are going to hold people accountable. We are going to lay criminal charges where they are necessary. We are going to demand that people must lose their jobs when this keeps going on.
Dr. Ferrial Adam, thank you. Executive Manager at WaterCAN, part of OUTA. Really appreciate the time.